All right, here's a video review for the not Transformers, almost getting in the habit there. The Dungeons and Dragons Dicelings from Hasbro. They are little D20s that, okay, all the instructions actually do have honor among things about them, excuse me. Little, like, well, actually, I say little, they're actually not softball size, but I mean, you can see, they're not normal size D20s. Now you could conceivably roll these. You see they're not painted, but they do have all the numbers on them in the right places. They each have a Dungeons and Dragons logo on the D20 side. The beholder's got a little bit of a scaly bit. And like as dice, the two I think the two dragons here, Thumberchild and Raycor, I think are their names. Are probably the most solid overall. One, I think they're the best of the transforming dice, both as dice and their alt modes. Because they roll pretty... Oh, just roll the 20 on him. And roll the 2 on Thumberchild. There's 5. There's 16. So you could conceivably, as long as you don't toss them too hard, use them... roll the 5 and a 6 on... Roll them as dice. I wouldn't, but if you want on a lark, you could. The Owlbear is neat, but you can see like the way these panels fold together. Some panels latch together very well, but this right here, where the 3, 17, 5, 8, and 16, this straight down and then off to the side seam. The latches, the tabs are back here at this corner, and they don't really, it's very easy to pop them out. So even when you get it all tabbed together, even if it looks like a dice, just the act of rolling it too many times does tend to start to, you can see it's already starting to crack, but like with a more aggressive roll, it doesn't stay together as well as these two do. So now I'm rating them as dice. We'll do a transformation. You're really not going to use them as dice. They're novelty dice, but they're fun. Now the Beholder, actually his design, or its design I guess, is probably the most solid for rolling, and like in that it doesn't pop apart like the dragons, where their wings split here right along the core piece. Those tend to pop loose while rolling. The Beholder is actually pretty solid as a roller, but you can't trust it to roll as a dice because, as I mentioned, the D20 side and the 19 on the opposite side of that, or not opposite, directly opposite, the ones directly opposite, but these two panels right here have some scaly bits, which I get to why they did it to bring it some of the Beholder to the outside of the die when it transforms, but because they are on raised bumps, the way they sit, the 19 and the 20 sit directly opposite the 1 and the 2 on the die, which means you can never roll a 2. Like even if you just try to set it on the 9, it will automatically, or the 19, it'll automatically roll over to something other than the 2, and same with the 20. You could never roll a 1 with this die. It will roll, even just trying to balance it on that edge and letting it go, it's going to roll over to another number. So, unfortunately, the most solid of the die, and because of how these work, I mean, the whole backside of the dragon wings are numbers. They could have just left those flat numbers like on all the other ones, and this one actually would have been probably a pretty solid die to actually roll with. But alas, you could never roll a 1 or a 2, and that's kind of defeats the purpose of rolling a D20 in a game called Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever other D20 based system you may use. Anyway, let's transform them. Let's go ahead and do the dragons last, I think, since they're similar. So let's start off with the Owlbear, who I think is, as transforming things go, the Owlbear and the Beholder are probably on the lower end of functionality here. The Beholder gets a little bit of an edge for me because, one, I like Beholders cool more than I like Owlbears. Not that Owlbears aren't cool, and also it's orange. So there you go, behind the scenes decision making process. So the Owlbear, you kind of come up here. You can get these open right here with the 3 and the 17, which open pretty easily. But the main thing you want to get detached here is open this up and get this 8 panel up with the D20. There you can see the Owlbear kind of folded up inside the die. But you just lift this up, but then bring these panels out to the side. These whole assemblies here. And there's a dual hinge here that collapses in for dice mode. You want to bring those all the way out to the side here. And then this inner piece with the head and the legs rotates kind of halfway through the 18 here. Rotates around. And unfortunately, this doesn't fold back. It looks like this should, ideally, this would have a little slot that would allow it, and you can see the little tab that would allow this to slot back a little bit, but whatever. And then this panel flips over. This panel folds down along the back, and then this panel folds over those other dice panels to give them some little feathery detail. There's the head. The head rolls down. The legs come down. You want to be a little careful folding the feet. The feet are on ball joints, but the hinges, the knee hinges right above them are very tight, so you kind of push them down what you can. I found if you rotate the foot out to the side instead of grabbing it from the front or the back like this, if you try to move it like this, it's going to pop the foot off. But if you rotate it to the side, you can kind of get a grip right up there by the hinge and bring that around to the front. Again, right to the side, and then bring it around to the front of the leg. They don't pose naturally because of this bump back here, but you can get them into at least kind of somewhat supporting the owlbear. And then the arms, fold this down. This panel flips out and around to the outside, but before you do that, you want to take the hand, flip it out, rotate this panel out, and then you can fold this panel up on the double hinge up to the side. And this panel, unfortunately, I wish they'd put more of a hinge. You can see I stressed it a little bit working on it. I wish that this hinge could pass this point, because if you could fold this back the same way you could fold this back, this would come down, and then you could maybe fold this panel down flat on top of it. It would hide this feathery detail, but as it is, this folds out right here and then just kind of sticks straight out of the side of the arm, which is awkward. So, but then the arms, like I said, there's a ball joint there, there's a ball joint right here. You can kind of position them so they're armish. Fold that around. Inside the hands, these are just the pegs that hold the panels together. They just kind of hide inside the hands there. Because when those come together, they peg together. But there's the owlbear. It's awkward. It's mostly arm. But, hey, owlbear. The head's on a ball joint way up here at the top of the head, so you can get it to look around, but it's not going to... If you lift his head up, it looks like it's floating detached from the body, so... Yeah, there it is. Owlbear with spiky wing bits sticking straight out from its arms, because that's just how they did it. Beholder doesn't transform as much as you'd think. I wish they'd worked I get why they did it. You can see these are some of the eyes up here, but like I wish they'd found a way to give the eyes a little bit more range of motion. But you just basically open up these panels right here, and these are some eye stalks. They're on ball joints, but they only come back to about right here. So you can position them however you want, but they're hard to get in they're limited in their movement just because of how they interact with the panels around them. You can get them into some different poses. These little eyes on the smaller eyes are on are soft rubber, so you pull them out like that, and they are on balls up here, but because of their shape and the fact they're soft rubber and they're tucked in, they're kind of warped a little bit. You could get them up to here with some heat, but the minute you fold him back up into a ball, just the pressure of staying inside the die is going to bend him back down. But he's got a couple little soft rubbery eye stalks here. And there's some panels back here that open up that, again, I wish they had made these posable where they attach as well, because these are just kind of mounted in there. They're glued in place, but there's some more soft rubbery eyeballs, some other eyeballs inside there. And I wish these had the same ball joint system that these had, because then maybe you could bring these around to face the front a little bit more. And then the head itself, you just kind of push out here through the top. It's all soft rubbery in here. You can open his mouth. You can kind of see he's got a big purple tongue and a big purple roof of his mouth in there. And he's got soft rubbery teeth, a soft rubbery head. And like I said, you've got a little bit of range of motion on these eye stalks. I would like a little bit more. I wish these panels had a swivel maybe here, like the owlbear hand, so you could lift these up a little bit more. But and he's hollow from the back. But he's orange and fun. Like I said, I wish these had the ability to, even if they were just like this, but had the ability to kind of swivel out to the side a little bit more, because they just kind of go straight up on the top of his head like he's surprised more than like a beholder with eyes all around him, but whatever. But he's orange. He's got a triangle pupil. And he's fun. And you also use those, kind of fold those down to support him. Because he doesn't really stand up great. You get him up on his face? I guess maybe if you open it. If you close his mouth some, you can get him to... There you go. There's Beholder. The dragons have different heads and tails, but like tail detail and their heads are different, red dragons and black dragons, but otherwise transform very similar. They're actually not very similar. They transform exactly the same. They just got some different details. So for the dragons, you just find the D20 symbol and then open up the wings. You can see the black dragon has some green detailing inside. And there's hinges. They don't entirely fold out like wings, but there's a hinge here that also rotates at the body. Hinge here, and then a little flat back here. So you can get them in some poses, although when you try to pull them too far back from the neck, they'll bump into each other. So you can kind of get them to about here comfortably, but you can't sweep them back quite as much as I would like. But otherwise, they're pretty cool. And then the tail comes around and wraps around like this and extends, and there's a little piece that flips out on the end. You can see the legs are rolled up around there. You can bring the rear legs down, bring the dragon head up and around. The dragon mouth does open. This is why the black dragon's a little bit more of a drawback for me, is because he's got these cool side horns, but they're soft plastic, and mine was packaged in a way that this horn on this side goes up into his mouth all the time, when they should be out from the face a little bit. I could probably fix it with some heat, but again, just like the Beholder, once you start folding them back in there and folding the legs around it, it's probably going to smush it right back into his mouth. But he's got cool green eyes. His jaw can open quite wide, but the dragon won't open quite that long. Anyway, and then the front legs come down like this. And the thing is, like, all these legs currently are backwards, because you can see the tail's facing down with the spikes and the ridges. There are rotational joints here and here, so you could just rotate it around like this. But the actual transformation is to take this whole, get these out of the way, this whole back end assembly, rotate it around like this, and then you can bring the dragon legs down here, fold them back, fold them forward, and then rotate the feet around to give them proper, to get the tail in the proper position. Now the tail can come all the way up here with the hinge. You can still rotate it. You can still, there's a hinge here. Let's see, rotation and hinge at this joint, hinge at this joint, rotation and hinge at this joint, and then just a full swivel there on the tail tip. But you can get the tail in a lot of good positions based on how it is. And then this, again, folds down, bends forward a little bit to get the proper dragon leg stance. And same over here, bend it back, fold it around. And then the wings. So the wings can move up and down a little bit. There's hinges. They never look quite natural, especially from the top. All you're seeing is dice numbers from the top. But you get them into some decent wingy poses, and then have your dragon stand here. There we go. There's a black dragon, and the red dragon does the exact same thing. Like I said, different head, different tail detail, but otherwise the same thing. Now, I'm a little disappointed in the red dragon in that, one, this wing, for whatever reason, popped right off when I first opened it, and it has never really stuck in place, and never held in place. You can kind of click it into place up here, but is never, in the mid space, never held as well as the other wing. It likes to droop, so you really have to click it up as high as you can, and you can't really lower it much, or it's just gonna fall unless you support it with some other piece. But anyway, but you open up the wings again on here, bring the tail around, just like that, and you can see he's got smaller, where the black dragon has like individual tall 3 triangles on each segment. The red dragon has some smaller, just kind of finished bumps, and doesn't have the big, has some smaller nubs on the tail tip versus the big kind of sail fin that the black dragon has. And obviously the head's different. We'll show that off in a minute. And the other reason that the red dragon has disappointed me a little bit is, like, this forelimb on very securely. This forelimb had some sort of warpage in the molding, so it's very hard. I don't think I'm going to, yeah, see, it likes to, once it's on, like when it's popped on, it will stay on. It's just the minute you try to move it out from the body a little bit to rotate it down, it pops right off. Once it's on, like, it'll stay on, it'll support him, it'll rotate just fine without coming loose, but it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to pop off, which is not the case on either of his legs or even on this other leg. You can see I can fully rotate him and pull him, and even if I put some resistance here, I can pull this leg and it's almost bending before it pops off. Whereas here, it just comes right off when you pull on it. So, do I buy another one? Probably not. Although they are fun to have. You can see there's his dragon head. He's got the same opening jaw, but he's got backwards swept horns that sit a little closer to the head. He's got some finned cheeks. So I guess he kind of has those as well. Different, pointy beard here. We'll compare them in a minute. But again, flip the legs around, rotate them down into dragon-y poses. And you can see now that he's transformed, posing him, he'll support himself. There's no issues. It's just that leg likes to pop off. The minute you have to kind of pull it out and around anything, it does pop off. It'll stay there for transformation. It'll stay there through posing. It's just a pain in the butt when you first open him up and transform him. They got rotational necks. They got ball joints at the head, opening mouths. And also I found when you transform them back into dice, their dragon necks, because they have these fins on the back, it helps if you rotate them just slightly off center as you fold the tail around, just to give the tail a little space so it's not bumping up against that fin. It lets the whole dice stay together a little easier. And there they are. Oh, get your leg down there, buddy. There's Thumberchild. So yeah, they're fun little things. Again, I wish the Beholder had those flat panels, like, so he would function better as a die. But alas, because you can see here they are here, and there's the 19 and there's the 20 in Beholder mode, which again gives him some more scaly skin, I guess. But when you're already working with this, I don't think having those. I think you could have done some of the scaly detailing without the 3D texture on those panels and had him function better as a die. But whatever. It's a minor complaint because they're not intended to be real die. They're just supposed to be fun, and they are. But yeah, fun little D&D Dicelings. The new movie Honor Among Thieves is coming out soon. Now, some of the outer packaging, that was one of the things I was going to say. All of their instructions do have the Honor Among Thieves subtitle on the paper instructions. Although some of them, I think the two dragons, the actual packaging for the dragons has Honor Among... Oh, and I guess the... Was that backwards? Yeah, the Beholder does not have Honor Among Thieves on its subtitle. The Owlbear, so maybe he's not going to be in the movie. But the instructions for the Beholder do have Honor Among Thieves. Because you can see here, the Owlbear, most of them have Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. The Dragon has Honor Among Thieves. The Beholder up here does not. It's just Dungeons & Dragons. And same on the back of the packaging, which is weird because, like I said, they do all have it. Let me double check it real quick. But yeah, see, the Beholder's instructions does say Honor Among Thieves as the subtitle, so I don't know. I don't know why they left that off. But regardless, they're out promoting the new movie. They've been doing a lot of it. They have done some of the action figures of the classic cartoon characters, which apparently have not been... sorry if I'm closing a box up over here. I apologize for the extra noise. I've heard lots of not great things about the quality. I've seen several arriving busted in the package, and because it's windowless packaging, you can't tell. Or breaking Hank's hand, Bobby's head. I've seen a few heads not come attached, or become detached very quickly after opening the figure, and that doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence. I'd love to have them. I loved that old cartoon. I watched it all the time as a kid, I guess the season. But I mean, I remember watching it growing up in the 80s, and I really would have... And then they each come with a die, so if you collect the whole series, you've got a whole exclusive dice set to that line of action figures. But the quality just doesn't seem to be there, and I'm sad because I really wanted them. But speaking of the old D&D cartoon, these dragons, while not really to scale, not massive dragons, do actually work fairly well with WizKid's own pre-painted minis. Now, why they gave Eric a sword, I don't know. Anyway, like again, not super to scale. They're still smallish dragons compared. But if you were playing a tabletop game and you just wanted to have like a physical representation of a dragon, these are kind of cool little ways to do it. Also, cool dragons that would work with these minis, and I wish I had thought of it beforehand. Iron Factory's Beast Wars Megatron and Cryotech. Can't remember what Heat Death and Cold Snap. I can't remember what their names are. But yeah, would also I've thought would work well at the table. They're slightly, I think they're maybe slightly bigger than these Dicelings, but yeah, you could have some fun with that as well. But like I said, if you wanted to, you could conceivably put these on the table just to represent where the dragon was on your tabletop and have some fun with them. But anyway, enough about that. These are the Dicelings from Hasbro. They're starting to show up in stores now. The Black Dragon and the Owlbear I found at Target. I actually found them both. These both came from the same Target. I did see the Black Dragon. I've seen the Black Dragon at several Targets. I think every Target I've been to, I've seen the Black Dragon at, of the 3 or 4 here in town. The Owlbear I've only seen at the one Target by work that I saw at the same time I found him. I went back and got him. The Red Dragon and the Beholder I have not seen in the wild. I ordered them off of Pulse, and they actually got here really fast, so thank you, Hasbro Pulse. So I have the whole set. But so I don't know if... Like, there was one Target that I saw, like, 3 of the Black Dragon, and I can't imagine that Target got... I don't know how they come packed. I don't know if it's like a case of 4, and each case has 1 of each, or if they come specifically, here's a case of the Black Dragon, here's a case of the Beholder, and Target just hasn't gotten them all in yet. I don't know how they're packed. But like I said, I've seen the Black Dragon and the Owlbear at one Target. I've seen two or three of the Black Dragon at a different Target, and I've seen some single Black Dragons here and there. So I don't know if they're getting them in case waves or if they're putting all 4 of them out and people are just grabbing up all the other ones and just leaving the Black Dragon behind, which is a shame because, like I said, the Black Dragon is still pretty cool, and the dragons are, I think, the coolest of the 4 options you can get. So, whatever. Maybe people just really like Beholders and Red Dragons. I mean, to be fair, those are the 2 I wanted the most, so I get it. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet now. Thanks for watching out the videos. If you're into D&D, if you like these little transforming dragons, Beholder's cool too. Owlbear, actually, Owlbear's not too bad. He's just weird. They're fun little curios to have and fiddle with on your desk.